Nobody less or more than Diego Campos with us.
Literally, we have a legend. Another legend.
legend.
Imagine back-to-back legends on this.
Back-to-back legends.
Yeah, it's just everything is back-to-back here. It's
Yes, everything is legendary about this.
literally. We never have people. I mean, we always have people like this, of course. But which podcasts have people like this? Like a legend himself, Diego. Dang, what a guy! Welcome, welcome to the podcast.
Full of legends, but I think we just like coffee people that love what we do. So
Yes, sir.
I think that's one of the main problems we have. We all think we are legends, and we are not.
That's true.
Oh.
Hey, I love that.
Yeah,
That's
what our
it's true.
first
You know,
episode
it is
started
true.
like.
We're just
Yeah.
joking around.
Yeah.
All jokes apart, it is true, man, and that's the beauty of it. And we're just like coffee people.
Yeah, yeah.
And if people would realize that instead of like being like, hey, it would be a lot easier to actually move on and go on and do your thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. That's what I told Ricardo in the first episode too. It's like, the more I work in this industry, the less I know.
That's right.
And that's one of the main things I don't like about working in coffee, like finding people that they think they have the answer for everything. So even for me, it's quite difficult when people start like asking me which is like the end answer for things. But I think this is what happened with coffee. There is not an end. So everything's going to change every day, and that's what makes this industry interesting. That's what I keep going on industry. Like winning WBC for me was like, yeah, I wanted to achieve that, but it's awesome to see how many other things I can do with coffee.
It's always evolving.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. Like people doesn't want to learn more about coffee. They think they are learning more, but they don't. So they just like keep doing the same things and feeling that they have the answer.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting about who is the real legend.
And
I guess you know who is the real legend, and this like. It's weird to see, I mean, it's nice to see people around coffee talking about coffee, talking about producers. I mean, when I heard the word producers, it's difficult because, I mean, everyone is talking about producers, everyone is talking about like opportunities and money and so many other things, but they don't, like most of them doesn't really know what is to be a producer or what the producer is doing right now for them to like being here talking.
Yeah.
it is so true.
100%.
It is so true. You know, we were talking about in the first episode that we were recording, Nick and I were talking about like the beauty of what motivates us in coffee, for example, is the beauty that we don't know everything. And there's always something to learn from somebody else. And that's what keeps us moving forward. That's what keeps us moving in coffee, is that we don't know everything. Because if we knew everything, what else is there to do, right?
Yeah, it's like moving to the same goal. But on the coffee industry, everyone wants to achieve different things, but they all wants to. I mean, we are kind of like, I don't know how to say, selfish.
Yeah.
We just want things for ourselves, but we are not able to bring things on table for like everyone, including everyone, like roaster producers and pickers and some other things. But everyone just want to make their own money based on the producer.
It is interesting. That's a definitely interesting point because, if you don't know, if you haven't visited Origin, if you haven't spent enough time at Origin, what do you really know about coffee producers to actually say what coffee producers actually want? Or what coffee producers really need? And what they should do or not do. If you don't know Origin very well. How disrespectful in that regards is that for me that even though I have been at Origin quite a bit, come to a producer in Colombia and say, you know what, you should try to do this or you should change and do that. It's not the right thing. It's not right?
It happens every day. I mean, everyone wants to tell the producer what to do, but they don't want to get the risk. So they just ask for things, but the producer is the only one taking the risk on doing, like, let's say, processes. So just why you don't do a natural process, like with the yeast or whatever they want the producer to try. Yes, it's good to try, but okay, let's do it together. So I will
Yes.
do it,
Yeah.
but you have to compromise with me that if the coffee is good, you will buy it. If the coffee is bad, you're still
Yes.
helping me out
Yes.
to
Share the risk.
Yeah, share the risk.
Share the risk, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just few people that is doing that on the market. But mainly baristas are going to farms, like getting the producer crazy about asking for process. But sometimes those processes are not very sustainable. Those processes are not cheap to do. So
Yeah.
that's the main problem. I know we all want like good stuff.
Yeah, of course.
How much I am like I am able to pay for that effort. So it's not about just asking for things. It's
Yeah,
not about
yeah.
like, okay, if a coffee tastes good, I will pay it. What happens if I no?
Yeah.
That is amazing. You know, do you think that I know that sometimes baristas and roasters they're coming to Origin and they have these ideas, right?
Even like the exporters, they
The exporters, huh?
yeah, some of them are like, I have some clients that they ask me for coffees and I say, okay, I will do it, but then they change their mind, so the price is going low, so it's difficult. It's difficult. Even on like, I know I'm not the best one, but like some people know me, so they want my coffee, but they are not able to pay enough, just because the market is not good, or the
Yeah.
people is not paying enough. Yeah, but it's
That's a great point, Diego. And I think that if you would say a word of advice or encouragement to people, like I don't think that everybody that is all the baristas or roasters or even exporters going to producer, trying to talk to them and ask them if they can do certain type of processes. I don't think they all have a bad intention not to fulfill, but or they have this intention of potentially helping, but they don't know how to go about it. What kind of advice would you give people in the industry that likes to approach the producers? What would you tell them? Like, hey, listen, maybe you need to take a different approach. What would that be?
wow. I mean, I think it's like, first you need to listen to the producers and to see the potential of the coffees they have, and also the facilities they have, because some of the producers in
Infrastructure, right?
Colombia
Yeah.
doesn't have enough infrastructure, so like they almost don't have anything. So if they have the depulper, they don't have where to dry the coffee, or if they have the dryer, the machine is broken. So and the problem is like they don't have enough money to fix everything, so they just prefer to sell the coffee to the market, or like wet coffee. First I want to like them to check first the capacity of the producer. How can they help the producer to improve what they already have, instead of like just making the producers to buy different stuff for the process they want. So I mean, it's not about just one part of the farm or the harvest. It's about the whole harvest.
Right.
It's not just one macro lot. It's about like
Is the
all
whole
the
crop.
coffee he can produce,
Yeah, yeah.
that we need him to improve. Not just the coffee I want. So it's about like, okay, you have 1 hectare, 2 hectares. Let's try to, everything cannot be good, but just try to do our best together to get a good price or to get a good quality.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So then you have a really interesting perspective because you're on both ends. You're a producer and you're been obviously a competitive barista and also a barista and on your day-to-day. What do you think then is something, when we all like to share information, we all like to kind of, I mean, I think for most of the coffee industry, we're curious people. Instead of baristas and roasters, when they're going to producers and saying, hey, do this and that, what are some things that are valuable that baristas and roasters can share for producers to learn as well? Like, is it the market? Is it kinds of coffees that are popular? What can baristas and roasters communicate to producers?
So there's a weird thing that happens, is that everyone wants to use like a very famous coffee or famous coffee farm. But having an account that in Colombia we have more than just 2 or 3 like very famous farms. So we
True.
have like more like I don't know how many people we have in coffee now, like 500,000 something. So this is a very good opportunity for people that wants to really help producers to not just pick one, just do like bigger things. I'm sure there's some bigger producer that doesn't. I mean, they need some help, but there are some others that also need some help. So
Correct.
if you wanna go to the producer for the first time, just check if he is having a sustainable harvest. How can we start from the beginning? No, not just wait until the producer have already everything done, or they won the competition, or they becomes famous. If that would be nice for like every like customers or baristas. Just start from zero with a producer to see, okay, if you don't have a beneficio, let's build one together. You have a dryer, so let me help you to build a dryer. You don't have how to fertilize the coffee, so let's try to do it together. But not just approach the producer when they already are like
Famous.
famous or working or have the opportunity to sell the coffee, because it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So the buyers or everyone just wants to go to specific farms or specific producers or even they buy the coffee from the producer, but they don't even know where the producer or the conditions the producer is having. If he has a family, if I have enough money, or it happens.
All the time. That is amazing. And also, if you ask yourself the question, right? What kind of a positive impact am I really creating if I'm actually looking just to support producers that already have a market for their coffee?
Yeah, yeah.
If the producer is already well known, and of course, at Ally, we work with producers since for many years, and most of them, they were not known well
Yeah.
when we first started working, and then we have producers that 5, 6, 7 years later ended up winning the Cup of Excellence. But when we first started working with them, they were not. Nobody
Yeah.
knew them, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, what is the real impact if I'm going in as a competitor or a roaster or a barista, and I'm just looking to work with the famous producer? What is the real impact that we are bringing in the industry, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I also feel like, to add on to that, is it problematic for competitors to only go to the most well-known farms? And nothing against the most well-known. Hats off to them. They created a brand for themselves, right? But is it problematic?
Okay, again, competition, as I told you last time, competition is a good thing. But what happened with the competition is that the competition just show what people want to see, or like the coffees that already are on the market. So I think I love competition. I've been competing for so many years, but I want to see more competitors going into different coffees, not just one or just one variety or just one producer, or I would love the competition back to the wash coffees, like clean coffees again, and making more interesting for the producer, even the pickers and or the whole family. Not just about the process or just about like innovating things like coffee tools or whatever. I know it's good. I know the competition is looking for that, but as a coffee producer or a barista from a coffee producer, I want to see more baristas talking about different varieties, like traditional varieties, like real coffees. Because I think sometimes I talk about the Eugenioides I used in 2021. It was a really good coffee. I mean, standing coffee, but it's a coffee that none of the producers in Colombia can have. There's just one farm or like even 2 or 3 with the Eugenioides. Because it's difficult to grow. There is not enough coffee. Like it doesn't produce enough coffee, so that coffee is not sustainable for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we talk about like Castillo or Colombia, even Caturra is a coffee we produce a lot.
Yeah.
There's most of the farmers in Colombia has those coffees, and those coffees also taste really good. So
Absolutely.
why we don't like push more of those coffees in competition? So I think it's a very good thing we can do with the competition to push more those kind of varieties. Will be really helpful for many producers.
I love this actually. This is like really awesome that you're bringing some of these concerns as a world barista champion and also a guy from origin, from Colombia. It's amazing to hear your perspective on this because a lot of people think that, okay, well, I'm going to compete, and the first thing that comes to their head is like
Coffee has to be really expensive.
exactly,
and
very
really crazy.
expensive, and also has to be very high scoring,
Yeah.
and then they narrow down to maybe 3, 4 different varieties, and then they go in and they go all out. And even, again, using a producer that is very well known, I've tasted in the last several years Castillos, Caturas, other more normal, common varieties in Colombia that scored 88, 89. Beautiful coffees, some of them washed, just like a traditional wash
Yeah,
coffees.
but if you ask to the barista that is going to compete, what kind of variety he's looking for to compete, they never going to say Castillo or Colombia or
Absolutely not.
Catura. They just like go to geisha up.
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely. And so the point is, I think, is it time for the industry and for the competitions to reevaluate the rules?
The competition just want you to serve or make a very good coffee which has a lot of flavors, balance, and a tactile experience.
Yes.
So they're not asking you to use the most expensive coffee. So they
Right.
just there's a form or a evaluation form that you just need to follow it.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that we can, as a barista or like competitions, can be do for like producers because there's so many other producers that has a lot of coffee, a lot of good stuff that
I
needs to
love
be
this, man.
shown.
I love this. I think that then it's maybe more like a change of mindset from the competitors than actually change of the rules.
Yeah. So the rules are clear. Do you think that when competitors push certain boundaries or push certain limitations on what they're featuring in their presentation, do you think that influences the way judges approach, I guess, judge in those competitions and in how they judge in the future as well?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
From the judging standpoint, do you think that the judges also should be retrained
Yeah.
in a sense to take a different look, or you don't think that their role is that their role has that much of a influence at the end result, right? I do believe so, but I don't know if there is anything that can be done from the judges,
Yeah.
perspective, right?
No, they have a very important role, and I think this also. I mean, they need to be calibrated with the coffees that are in the market. So, if they start like tasting different coffees, not just like naturals or anaerobic or like those kind of things that are now in the market. So, if they start like drinking very good wash coffee, so they will get in touch again to those coffees. But if they only have like 50 baristas brewing just naturals or like crazy stuff, so what other option do they have? So of course they can do something for the industry or for the coffees, but they just taste what the barista brew for them. But yeah, even they are roaster cuppers or different roles in the coffee industry, so they have a chance also to taste different coffees, different process.
Maybe all barista competitors should go on a strike and make an internal code and say we're not gonna use geisha, we're not gonna use Eugenioides, Laurina, whatever it is. We're just gonna use the more known varieties in a very traditional process. And that year they don't tell anything to the judges or anything to anybody. And then let's level the playing field. And then compete with the coffees that are, incredible coffees that are now getting the look. I'm just joking. I think it's.
Some
but
of the
no,
baristas, they
yeah.
just want to don't tell the variety to the judges, so they say, "I will tell you the variety at the end," but it's obvious they're using a geisha, so
Let me
it's easy to tell.
yeah,
So
Yeah. No, let me ask you this though. I mean, that's actually a really interesting point
Yeah.
because in the world roasting competition, I think, from my understanding, the coffee is provided to the competitors, right? What do you think about
Say it again.
the coffees are provided to the competitors, right? The
roasting,
green, the roasting. Sorry, the roast.
The roasting competition. Yes.
What do you think about applying that same concept to barista?
Well, even like the brewers, I think they have
brewers.
compulsory as well, which is the first round, if I'm not mistaken. The Brewers Cup.
It
And
will
then,
be
Yeah,
nice. It will be nice. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe like as we have in brewing, they have to brew all the same coffee. Maybe in baristas they like have a space where everyone's brew the same coffee and try to get the best out of the coffee.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how can it fix to the rules now, but it will be nice to see
to try something different.
To try
I think
something,
that
yeah.
that is an incredible thought.
Don't kill me, baristas, but I'm not planning to compete in baristas anymore. So sorry, Morgan.
This is great. This is great.
So, what is one of, would you say, you how many years did you compete? You competed, I think.
I did it 10 times in Colombia and 3 in the world.
Wow.
So I mean, basically over almost over 10 years competing, your whole experience competing in Colombia and then obviously winning World Barista Championship. What was one of the hardest barriers or challenges you had to overcome to get to obviously where you got?
Wow. One of the main things was the language. So language is like, we in Colombia we are speaking English, so that is not a big opportunity for us to practice our English. As I heard so many people like telling that will be fair for many baristas to speak their own languages. I think it's fair. I think it will be nice, like you can do it on your own language. But I think for me, learning English was one of the best things that happened.
Sure.
Because it opens a lot of doors for me.
Absolutely.
So I have two different opinions about the thing about languages. So yeah, of course, I would love to do my presentation in Spanish. It will be easier for me. Even when I was training for WC 2021, I spent so much time like repeating and getting the speech. Because you need to memorize the speech, but if you don't speak English and you forget one word, so it's going to be a disaster. But when you speak, I'm not speaking English well, but I
You
tried.
speak very good English, my friend.
I tried to memorize the speech, but I had to repeat like so many times. There were
That
like
kind of forced you, huh?
500, 400 words of speech. So I had to do it every day before going bed. When I woke up, every single time I was like repeating that on my head. Yeah, but I think English is important in coffee,
Absolutely.
and I think not just in coffee. I think English is important everywhere you go.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's kind of like a universal language. So for me, it was good to learn English, and I think I learned English because of coffee. So I get a full package. I go to coffee as a profession, and I go to English for the whole life. So, 'cause
Absolutely.
when I went to school, I did not like English, so I wasn't good on English. I went to London 2013 to learn. It was difficult for me because I didn't speak any English, and then I went there to live with a couple, very old couple. So they don't hear very well. So they were using something to hear me. It was really hard for me to get their English and start speaking. Then I went to Australia for a couple of years as well. It helps me a lot to speak English because I get a job, I get more opportunities. Yeah, I think it's one of the big challenge for me, but I think that was a good thing for me as well. It was hard to learn how to get a speech, but also it's very fun to be able to communicate with people, especially in this
Exactly.
industry.
And it's a skill set you learn, and you're going to take it for life. And I always say this. I'm also not a native English speaker, and I had to learn English. And by speaking other languages, so many doors open up for me. And I do believe that professionally speaking, it is really good for people in the coffee industry, and not only in the coffee industry, to really learn another language. I think it's very important. And I'd never thought about that from that angle. We had the privilege of interviewing Dale Harris, and he brought up the point of like maybe it would be better or it would be good to think about maybe making the competitions and competitors use their native language to compete, but also I think it's a good point, but I also understand that from your point of view that the competitions in a sense kind of helped you to improve
Yeah,
your
sure.
yeah.
Even for judges, they have to learn English, not just because they want to judge. It's because they want to do business in coffee. They have their own coffee shop. They need to communicate on the real life. It's not just about. I did not learn English just because I wanted to compete.
Yeah,
I learned
Uh-huh.
English because I want to speak English and be able to travel, to communicate, we do
Amazing.
so many
love
other
it,
things.
yeah.
Not just because I wanted to compete.
Oh, I love this. I love this. To hear
Yeah.
people's perspective, and speaking to Dale, for example, and I loved what he brought up, but I also understand your point, and I think that this is incredibly valuable coming from someone that doesn't speak English as the first language or as a native speaker. So it definitely adds a different dimension to the whole thought.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Go for it.
There's another big things for us. I mean, now it's better. Now it's like getting better. Like finding a good coffee in Colombia for me, like I'm talking about 2014. In 2014, I went to Seattle to compete with a Wash Colombia
Amazing.
because I did not find. That was interesting because I did not find a geisha or a good stuff. So I knocked in the door to very famous farms in Colombia, and they say, there's so many other baristas using my coffee, so if I have something less, I will call you. Don't call me, I will call you. So
Wow.
that was really hard. So sorry guys, but there's something that I have to say.
Absolutely.
That's just a good- yeah, reality.
Yeah,
Yes.
wow.
Now it's different because now the producer is like kind of like they find a way that like supporting a barista is a way that they can promote their own coffees. So now in Colombia, there's so many producers like, would you like to use my coffee? I have different process. I did have different varieties. I will give you the coffee for free if you use it. Before was even I'm talking about us as a Colombian. It was difficult to find a
A
coffee
coffee to compete.
to compete. If I will find it, that would be really expensive. So, and there were not enough coffee. So
That's amazing.
even for WBC 2021, I started like knocking the door again to big, very famous farms, and they say the same.
Wow.
There were so many baristas using coffees. So I think
And
there's
they
no-
were
and then you
actually
won.
they're not Colombian, right? Because you're the Colombian representative.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Even with the Eugene orders, it was really hard. So they say we just have 24 kg. If you want it, just pay it now, because we're
Wow.
going to sell it. So that wasn't cheap. It was really expensive
Wow.
stuff. So I was like having a big deal because my boss was telling me, we have two options. Do you train with Federico, which is a guy that I
Yes.
train for, the Salvadorian one, or do we get the coffee? Just choose. I said, oh, what can I do
Tough.
now? That was hard because I mean that guy knows about a lot
Yes.
about coffee and about the competition.
Absolutely.
But also the coffee was the one I wanted to use. So and then we got both, but it was really hard. So they did not give a chance. Like, I will give you the coffee. We will wait for you. No. You want the coffee? Pay for it and pay it now.
It's a very interesting approach because I don't think you're allowed to use coffees from any other origins as a Colombian representative, right?
I'm not
Or
sure
are
if I
you?
will not allow, but I will feel bad using
Absolutely.
not the coffee.
Absolutely. but
Brazilian coffee.
Can you imagine that? It's absolutely. I can totally see that. It's super challenging. You can't. You're thinking like, okay, if I win representing Colombia, this is not only good for me, but also it's good for my country because I am showcasing what my country has to offer. So you would think that you would have producers knocking on your door and saying, Diego, try this coffee.
Yeah.
Or Diego,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I think that maybe it's a way of thinking, like, and perhaps it's sometimes you have to really look at it as a producer, as perhaps an investment as well in your coffee, in your farm, in your
Yeah.
brand, in your own country. When you have a high caliber professional, highly skilled and trained to compete and represent the country, of
Yeah.
course, getting to the level of the world's is already like an incredible
Feet.
thing to do,
Yeah.
and the exposure is huge, right? I don't know. I think maybe producers in general should rethink, and when their representative are asking, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
let's team up here.
Yeah.
This is a team effort,
Yeah.
and let's do justice and honor our country
Yeah.
in the proper way.
No, but this is also dope because like he ended up winning. This is like the underdog story.
That's exactly right.
You don't want me to use your coffee? All right, fine, ciao.
And
I'll find another
I
way to
guess
figure it
that,
out. Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't need to say names. We don't want to ask
Yeah.
names, but I'm sure that at the moment of victory, and there's like a film going on your head, like a movie going on your head, and you're thinking, wow, perhaps they didn't believe I was going to win, and now I just did it.
Yeah.
Not like as a payback, but you were like, how proud you felt at the moment that you heard, you being the
Yeah.
number one barista in the world in 2021, how proud you felt and how much you saw that you contribute to Colombia as a producing country, which is an incredible traditional people in general are so passionate about coffee. You became like instantly a national hero of sorts. I can imagine, and people were on national televisions. I was following you, and you're like in all these different channels talking about coffee and so on. So how was that interaction? How did that feel? When you came back to Colombia with the trophy.
Well, let's start saying that this is not football. There's no football. It's coffee. So
You see how humble this guy is?
in Colombia, it's
I
not.
know, man. It's like,
In Colombia, there is no big thing. Of course, we were like very happy. Like people from the industry, we felt big connection to this. But yeah, we were knowing that like a newspaper or something like that. It's not that big for the coffee industry in Colombia or for coffee people. If you ask like a Colombia, like regular Colombia, they don't even know that dry exists. So
wow.
that was a very sad part because there is
Wow.
no we wanted to make it very popular, like people knowing what barista, the coffee, or so many other things. They want them to see or to learn about this, but it's difficult. It's very difficult. Starting
Yeah.
from the government, they don't even know that I won the competition.
That is interesting, and I'm like in the same token. I'm shocked because I would see this as a totally incredible opportunity to really bring the value of Colombian coffee as a whole up. Take the opportunity, being such a cultural and traditional producing country, and as we talk to people in Colombia, get the chance to go to Colombia quite often, and see people talk about how proud they are. This is like literally the opportunity for the government to make this moment be the Colombian moment and really broadcast and really promote and then raise up awareness for all the coffee producers and all the coffee professionals. But man,
Yeah,
it's, it's,
we
it's
didn't understand the
encouraging in a sense.
opportunity we had, like winning the WBC. Still, we pushing a lot, like trying to people to understand how big it could be for us. But one thing that makes me happy is that there's so many producers that are feel proud about what I did. I found so many like in the coffee event. So I met so many producers. So they feel like, oh, thank you for making it happen. Thank you for what you do. And say, you don't have to thank me. I have to thank you. And yeah, it makes me happy. Producers are feeling like encouraged about this. There's so many other baristas that wants to compete, they want to achieve. There's so much people wanted to learn about baristas, and going to different schools and try to learn because they find that barista means a good things, but it's not as big as we want it to be.
Wow. And Diego, I think that for me, this has been like really a humbling,
100%.
incredible
Oh, yeah.
opportunity to just get to know you deeper. It is incredible to see your heart for Colombia and your heart for Colombian producers.
Kind of emotional.
It's like, it's like I'm almost like emotional, in a sense. You know, I don't even. I'm not at a
Like,
loss of words
lots of
right now.
words,
It's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
incredible, your vision and your humbleness and all that is around. A guy that represented the country, and I know even we're coffee people. We're passionate. We think that coffee is a big deal. At the end of the day, it's just coffee, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But to go in and represent your country in that level, where we see a lot of like the consuming countries really like pushing forward, investing on their competitors, and almost to the point that they have so much more resources that is almost not even fair at points for people at origin to compete against these powerhouse countries. And you did it. And
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
have everything to do it. So what happened to us is like we still showing coffee as a very poor thing. So because we still like showing the producer, a very old producer with a dirty hands, with the cherries on the cocoa, and with the family,
Yeah.
we want to show
The poor side.
yeah, poor side, but we
poor,
don't.
poor little farmer, right?
Yeah, but it's not like that.
No,
It's
no,
not like that.
no.
I think a coffee farm is a business. It's not just like, oh, poor them, they have to work. Of course, they have to work, but if they work, they will achieve so many other things. So they pay the university of the school
Yes.
to their kids. They build a house. They build so many other things. They not just like poor producer. So, but
true.
it's our fault because we try to sell the idea that the producer needs us. We need the producer.
Exactly right.
They don't need us.
Exactly right. It is so true.
But yeah, even big companies in Colombia, they just show the Cafe de Colombia in a very different way. So what I try to do with my cafe, because I have a coffee shop in Garzón, a very small town,
Can't wait to go there.
that people think I should have my coffee shop in a very fancy city or a big city because they don't believe they deserve a place like mine. Because they think coffee is ¿cómo se dice?
A luxury.
Luxury
luxury
things.
good, yeah.
Luxury, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I start talking to my customers and telling to them is like, this is a place for everyone, and I prefer that the producers to come to have a coffee than some other peoples that are not very very good. So
Wow.
it's not about like the levels. It's about like a thing that everyone can get.
Absolutely.
So
It
it's
should
not
be.
it's not a biggest cafe or a more fancy one, but I try to build something for everyone.
That's amazing.
So coffee is no, it's no, ¿cómo se dice? It's no more like classist.
No, it's not elitist. It's not an elitist
it's not-
product.
yeah.
It's more like inclusive, so
Yes.
everyone can go into.
It's not
into
for select
coffee.
He
few,
was
it's for
never,
everybody.
even like
Yeah.
if you go back in the history of coffee, he has never been an elitist type of product. Never. If you go through history and you learn about what coffee did in the coffee houses, what coffee was intended, and how the power of coffee to connect people in all classes.
Yeah.
Coffee is not an elitist product. Should never be, because the moment you look at coffee as an elitist product is the moment that you're killing coffee, because it was not intended to be that way. It was intended for people to sit around the table, have a discussion, have a common thing to talk about, and coffee was the connector of all. And when you actually put this in a different category level that only a few people can access it, then you're really killing it. It's not the core of coffee. Coffee. The beauty of coffee is really connecting people of all kinds of background, races, religion, preferences, and then make everyone feel good about sitting around the table and having a good time and having a discussion, right? Just like we are having here in Brazil. And then just going back to what you're saying about poor producers, right? And I hear this all the time, and I get very upset because, and also I feel like going back to my country, which is Brazil, and then hearing people saying, I'm not going to work with Brazilian producers. And I ask, why not? Oh, because they're rich. And I'm like, well, that's why you need to work with Brazilian producers. And also that's why you need to learn from Brazilian producers, because they are able to make ends meet and provide for their family, provide education for their kids. And maybe their story should be told so other producers can be motivated
Some
and
example.
inspired and say, if the producers in Brazil have been able to do it, we also should be able to do it here. Now, how can we get there? And then finding the right people and the right companies and the right, means to actually get there so they also can be successful. And also that story could be a story that they are going to say, I'm proud what I've done in coffee. My kids are here. And, recently we had a chat in Colombia about bridging the age gap and how important it is, because farmers are getting around the world, coffee farmers, older and older and older, and then they don't want their kids to be working in the farm. And the kids perhaps don't want to be working in the farm because they want to go to the city and get a better education and then be a lawyer and a doctor and so on, because they don't see a future in coffee. But how do we change that
mentality?
scenery, that mentality, right?
It makes a lot of sense for me, because in Colombia, like, most of the producers are telling to their kids, like, go and study, because I don't want you to do what I do. Because it's really hard, because you have to work a lot, you have to pick coffee, you have to do. But if I would show them the good part of coffee, like, okay, if you are a producer, you can have better opportunities, you can learn English, you can have your own cafe, your own brand, you can study something and connect it to coffee. Because now there's so many other careers that are connected to coffee. Coffee is not just like picking, processing, and selling the coffee.
Correct.
Coffee is more like investigation, innovation, so many other things that you can put into the coffee. And we need all of those kids that went to big cities to study and come back to their own business, like as a counter or like scientifics or whatever. They could be really helpful for producers.
Absolutely.
So I have an example, is that my father-in-law, he's the producer. I have a coffee farm in together with him, but I think the producer is him, because he has been producing coffee for like, I don't know, 20 something years. He started as a picker. Now then he bought the farm that he used to work with, and now he has one of the most beautiful farms I have ever been in Huila.
It is.
So he believed in coffee. He started to work with, and he is working with Tim Wendelbo, World Barista champion, someone that I really admire, because he inspired me to work in coffee as well.
Absolutely.
But he started with my father-in-law since he was producing 82 coffee, 82-point coffees. Now they like having 19 coffees. 80.
That's amazing.
They have increased the quality, but also they have increased the lifestyle, also the infrastructure they have. So they have built a project. So now he having the opportunity to taste all of his coffee first. Then he selected the best ones, and then the rest of the people can buy the coffee, which means a lot, because he has the one that has helped the producer from the beginning. They work together, and he has the right to select the coffees that he really wants and the coffee he likes.
That's incredibly rewarding to see from A to Z how the right attitude and the right mindset can actually transform the life of a producer or the lives of producers. When you, like a person like Tim, for example, using his knowledge and his sphere of influence to really help producers to achieve excellence and go through that journey, not just start when the producer is producing 90, but going back when producers are producing 80s, 82s, and then helping them really raise the bar in terms of quality. I recently had the opportunity, Ally has had the opportunity to work with some producers that have been in coffee for a long time, and they have been working in specialty coffee and little by little growing. And then you start looking at their journey and their history and listening from them, and they're like, it's been very hard, this journey. We haven't been able to make as much, as we wanted to, and there's some improvement in our lives because we've been able to work on the quality. But then after a few years of working with us and us helping promote their name, and then we go back to their house and then and then we go in there and we see that they have a car now in the garage, and then the producer looks at us and is like, this is the first time after 15, 20 years I'm working in coffee that I'm able to buy a car. And then almost cry because now he can drive his kid to the doctor or his family to the doctor and not have to call a motor taxi to come and pick them up at the farm. So this is just one story that we're talking about in your story of your family and your story. But I think it's time for us to really look in
even
and
for
support.
them now they have good coffee, a good farm, but they still doing some improve every year because they just want to keep going producing good coffee. They don't stop just okay, we have what we want, so they still like building new things, the beneficio, the dryers, getting more opportunities, getting more coffee to sell, like a very consistent coffee, like clean coffee, very consistent, and they don't stop like investing in their own projects.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I think if we keep going on this, I'm going to get emotional.
Yes, I think that, one thing that I just wanted to compliment is that it's been like a great honor to be sitting next to you and talking about coffee and your journey and your family, your vision for coffee. It's great to hear that your head is also like in a great place. And I wanted to say that if there is anything that we can do to support you on this continued journey in coffee, count on us to help in any form and shape we can, and continue on, man. I think you were an inspiration to a lot of people. I know that you're an inspiration to a lot of young coffee professionals in Colombia, and I think that your story needs to be literally told, and your efforts needs to be supported. So you are a true coffee ambassador, and our industry should be proud to have you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
No, thank you for the opportunity for me being here in Origin. I've been to Brazil before, but never to the coffee farm. So I think it's the first time I'm with coffee or in a coffee farm, a part of Colombia. And I just want to thanks for the opportunity, and I just want you to invite to keep working for coffee, not for the producers, because they already working for you. So I mean, it's more about like making a partnership and stop like showing the coffee as a poor thing, and it's more like having a team. We all working together, like farmers, roasters, producers, baristas, everyone. Just talk about just one thing, no different things.
It's true.
And it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.